Hi, this is Natalie Williams. I'm sitting here with my grandfather, and today he's going to be sharing some stories from his childhood on the farm in Oklahoma.
The first things I remember was when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I was living on the farm. We lived in a 4-room house it also had an attic. And there was my mom and dad, my brother, and at that time 6 sisters. So there was 10 people in the house. In the winter, with just 4 rooms, 2 of them were bedrooms, and then we had the attic. So several of my sisters slept upstairs. Some more of them slept in the 1 bedroom. I slept in the same bed with my brother, who was 11 years older than me, and my mom and dad. They had another bed. We had 2 beds in the room. So that was our sleeping arrangement. We didn't have any running water in the house. And the water that was at the farmhouse there wasn't drinkable. It had too many minerals in it. So we had to haul our water. We hauled it from a schoolhouse where we went to school, which was about a quarter of a mile away. And so we didn't have running water. My mom cooked with a wood cook stove, and we heated the house with wood. And we lived there until I was 8. When I turned 8, my dad, who had been working in the lead and zinc mines at that time, he got laid off because the war was over. They were phasing out the mines, and so he came. We started farming at that point. We had 100 acres on that farm, and he bought a farm next door, which was 80 more acres. And we moved into the farmhouse over there at that time.
Yeah.
And that's where I lived until I left home at 19 and went into the military.
Yeah.
I always had chores to do when I was growing up. When I was 8 years old, my dad taught me how to milk a cow. So after that, I was responsible for doing the milking for the milk that we had in the house. That I would normally have a couple of cows that I would milk in the morning before school, and at night after I got home from school. And besides that, I would feed the animals. I was responsible for that also, feeding the cattle and stuff. And then as I got a little older, my dad started running a sawmill. And so he didn't have anybody hired to help him run it, so he would cut logs during the day, and then when I got home from school, he would start the sawmill up, and we'd cut and make lumber until it got dark, and then after it got dark, I'd go milk my cows and feed the cows, and then I was through with my chores for the day.
How many hours in a day would you say you worked?
Well, I did in the summertime. I worked in the fields. I would plow fields, and I would plant crops and haul hay for the cattle and put it in the barn. And I would start in the summertime around 6 o'clock in the morning, and typically we'd work till 6 o'clock at night.
Wow, so 12-hour day.
Yeah, we worked quite a bit.
Yeah.
I can remember one time, this was kind of interesting, this farm family that was about a mile away, they went to Washington to pick fruit for the year, for the summer. So they had several cattle that they milked to sell the milk. So they hired my sister Gertrude and me to milk their cows. They had about 10 cows we would have to milk morning and night.
Yeah.
So we'd go over and we'd milk the cows in the morning, and then we'd go back to the it was summertime, so we weren't in school. So then we'd go back home, and then at night we'd go back over and milk the cows again. Well, we got a nickel a cow. We got 5 cents to milk a cow. So if I would milk 5 cows in the morning and 5 at night, I would make 50 cents that day.
Yeah.
And so that was I did that for quite a bit.
Did you save that money or did you spend that?
No, it was kind of a community thing. We didn't have much money.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of shared. So if I made some money, it just kind of went into the pot.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way we got by. For us growing up, we were pretty poor, and the special treat for us was the 4th of July.
Yeah.
My dad would go to town and he would buy a case of soda pop, and that was quite a treat because we never got any pop. So he would bring home a case of soda pop, and it would be like six Cokes and 6 oranges, orange flavored, and 6 grape,
Yeah.
and so on, knee high type of
Yeah.
stuff. And then on the 4th of July, we'd make homemade ice cream,
Oh, okay.
banana ice cream, and so that was our special. That was a special treat for us.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, when I went to school, I went my first year to the one-room schoolhouse. There was 13 kids in the school for 8 grades. And my family was 5 of those 13 kids. And after the first grade, they did a consolidation. They closed all the one-room schoolhouses in the area, which there was many, and they started busing us into the town of Welch, and that's where I went to school. So it was a consolidated school.
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, yeah. And I went from having one person in my class, which when I was in the first grade, and we had about 30 in my class all the way up through high school. And so that was an interesting time in life, just going to school.
What did you enlist in the Air Force at 18, right after high school?
No, I did at 19.
Okay.
Right after when I graduated from high school, that summer I hauled hay, and then that fall I really didn't want to go to college at that time. So that fall I worked in a lime quarry. I drove a earth moving truck and hauled lime rock out of the quarry up to a rock crusher, and we'd dump it into the crusher, and it would make all the rocks into very small powder. And the lime was used to put on fields and stuff. It's kind of like a fertilizer.
Okay.
And so that's I worked there until I went in the Air Force in January.
Okay.
When we moved to the second house, we had running water in the house, but we didn't have a hot water heater, so we just had regular water, but we did have running water.
Yeah.
And we never had indoor plumbing for a restroom, bathroom, or anything. All the time I grew up, we had an outhouse, and I would get every fall before school. They would have a sidewalk, what they call a sidewalk sale, over in the town of Miami, and we'd go over there, and Mom would buy me 3 shirts and 3 pair of pants and a pair of shoes, and that's what I had for school clothes for the year. And so normally by the time summer come around, the shoes were worn out, so I went barefoot all summer.
Yeah.
And then of course the pants I would outgrow the pants for one thing, because I was still growing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way that we did. And she would buy material to make my sister's dresses and stuff, and she would make all of their dresses for school.
Was it hard growing up like that, or did you just not know any different?
It was just the way life was. It wasn't like we were unusual. There was all kinds of people that I grew up around that were in the same situation basically we were.
Yeah.
And so it's all what you get used to. My dad went to the 3rd grade in school, is all they did. That's as far as he went. My mom went through 5th grade. But of the 9 children, I had one sister that's 7 years younger, so she wasn't at the first house. But of the 9 children, they all went to high school and graduated. My dad was always really proud of that because he had never gotten any education. So to him, completing high school was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so all of us went and got a certain amount of college after that. But all of us graduated high school. I think of the 9 of us, 6, I believe, got degrees from college, and 3 of them got master's degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so that it was interesting. It was cold in the wintertime. The houses weren't insulated very well, and we would when you woke up in the wintertime, and that second house we moved to, we had it upstairs, and but there was no heat. There wasn't like central heat, so you'd wake up in the morning and it'd be real cold, so you'd run down and stand by the fire.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
How far were your houses from the school?
I went to school in Welch, which was 7 miles from where.
And you walked?
No, we had a school bus. I just walked in. I had to walk about an eighth of a mile up to a corner on a road, and that's where we caught the bus, and I rode it in and back and forth.
Got it.